the Kerala floods of 2018. The research paper is an attempt of the salvage operations during the crisis. Disasters are generally classified as natural and man-made. Saying by, I would like to raise our research question, what are the ways to salvage or safeguard the heritage affected by a disaster? Initially, we undertook a visual analysis of the heritage area. Then we understood the role of international agencies such as ICOMOS and ICROM in disaster management. Based on that, salvage operations were carried out. Finally, based on the salvage operations, a strategy was derived that could be followed for protecting the heritage in case of disaster. Kerala is prone to 39 hazards of natural origin because of its geographical location. Kerala faced its worst flood of the near century. India being a country with diverse cultural heritage and its traditional knowledge systems, which are the assets to the passed on to the next generation, not many thoughts were considered by the governmental bodies in safeguarding these precious treasures of culture. Next sheet. We'll be looking into the impact of floods, then how ICOMOS and ICROM guided us, and how the museum collections at Palyam were delineated for the salvage operation, detailed salvage process, and finally the strategies we derived. Once the water level dropped on the third day of the flood, we moved through the heritage village of Chenamangalam, which was an integral part of Musur's heritage project. It was observed that the whole village, including the Palyam Museum, was underwater for 3 days, and we, being an associate with the trust, an elder member of the trust, in his panic, approached for the protection of the entities. Several architectural collections were lost and damaged. Not having an experience in the disaster management aspects of heritage, ICROM was consulted through ICOMOS. ICOMOS, on behalf of ICROM, also launched Kerala Heritage Rescue Initiative in order to provide emergency response to the cultural heritage. ICROM suggested a web-based platform of crowd mapping that could locate and collect the first-hand information of the affected heritage. This was the first action plan implemented in India to identify the disaster-affected heritage. This platform could be accessed by anybody to upload information. The different types of heritage elements were identified across the state that was divided into cultural and natural. The entire process of salvage began with fieldwork and data collection in 3 zones. As per reports, only 28 monuments or sites are declared into protected category, which is maintained by ASI. During this point of time, people were not ready to give input data because of the extensive flood issues. The entire crowd mapping was a failed attempt due to the lack of awareness at that particular time. Hence, South Zone was considered for the salvage operations. South Zone looked into areas of Aranmula and Chenamangalam. The detailed study has been carried out at Chenamangalam. The heritage village of Chenamangalam was flooded with about 1.5 to 2 meters of water from the ground. Several manuscripts and various artifacts were drenched in water. Additionally, the Chenamangalam handlooms, a GI tag geographical location, suffered densely. Among the 5 weaving units of the area, 3 were totally damaged. A total listing of Chenamangalam was done, after which we delineated into the museum collections at Palyam Trust. The museum collections had varied types of articles, which focuses more on that palm leaf manuscripts. Common issues that could be observed are water-drenched articles, rusted or algae-coated over the metals. Several articles were broken or deteriorated. The highly affected were the manuscripts that were washed away. This is the flow of steps in salvaging process. Drying of articles is the very first step to get rid of the excess water. Documenting and listing of articles with number of tags in a specified series. Segregation of articles of similar types according to their serial tags. Live workshops and training sessions were conducted by ICOMOS salvage operations and actions that needed to be taken care of post-disaster. Damage assessment was done consulting several experts. A temporary lab with trained technicians was set up for salvaging the articles. Finally, all the articles past salvage operations were stored safely in a clean and dry boxes, after which a report of the process was submitted to the authority. The government also worked hand in hand. Media and other local authority helped in spreading the information and reaching out to volunteers during the time of crisis. Considering the limitations, the salvage operation was carried only for the museum collection. These are the strategies we formulated for the future. Formation of a good team with multidisciplinary professionals for the Heritage Rescue Initiative, facility that satisfies case-specific immediate remedies, awareness of crowd mapping and base data sheet from the experts that include all heritage aspects, digital library of all documented heritage that is update timely, listing the categories of heritage. A detailed case may be noted for each category that mention the cause and degree of issue. Salvage treatment shall be prescribed and done immediately based upon the degree of damage. The detailed project report shall be submitted to the authorities. Since the salvage operation was an initial step towards disaster management in Kerala, the aspect shall be widened to the built heritage and thereby the other natural heritage of the region. The currently documented and listed data shall be referred as a base data which can be updated timely and will be useful for any future situations in the crisis. Crisis is the time when the efficient team is to be mending together. With this paper, we have tried to spread the significance of the heritage salvage as the initial step in rescuing heritage after any kind of disaster. This was the first initiative in Kerala and moreover in India to rescue the heritage of that region. Disaster management emerges as a necessity, especially in a culturally diverse country like India. The ultimate objective is to expand the salvage operations across the entire state and eventually scale it up to a national level. The holistic approach aims to fortify the preservation and protection of diverse heritage assets in the face of potential calamities. Thank you. Yeah, that was the collection which was collected from the Museum of Palyam Heritage. Even the
Let's finish the question. So, what we see in your research and what you've showcased is something that is to deal with mostly objects from whatever the collection that was. It has a very different kind of expertise that is required in order to conserve these objects. Like manuscripts will have a very different kind of expert required. Then, now the question to me is, from this experience, does one directly extract processes for architecture, or will architecture have a very different process involved? Because architecture, if this whole thing, like in Nepal, though, all these buildings fell down, right? Now, is it possible really to recreate them?
It is not the recreation of the product or the building. It's the the management at that time, at that crisis. That is more important.
But so, which means the architectural and the building heritage is gone.
No, building heritage. See, if any natural calamities happen, we have to deal it in that way. At that time,
what is that way? That is what I want to know. How will you deal with a crisis for architecture?
Architecture, see most of the buildings in Kerala, so in Kerala being a tropical climatic conditions, like they were like used to these kind of floods and water problems. Like it was not, the buildings were in an intact condition. So the building condition was much better than what has happened for the artifacts. The manuscripts and all were damaged. So there we can consider it as how to consider the traditional knowledge systems, how to save it, how to preserve it.